Last week on the programme, we brought you the news that Bedfordshire Police wasn't getting any extra money from the government, despite strong lobbying by the force and local politicians. The Police and Crime Commissioner, Ollie Martins, came on this programme and described it as Armageddon for the county. Strong use of words, of course. Well, now we can get the assessment of the Chief Constable of Bedfordshire Police, John Boutcher. John, very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Roberto.
Welcome to the programme. We're talking about the funding formula, which works out how much money each force in the country receives. What does that mean for Bedfordshire?
Well, I heard your comments that Ollie Martins made about this. It's bizarre. The funding formula results don't offer Bedfordshire any gains whatsoever. I was speaking to colleagues, chief constables in the region only today, 5 other forces. All of us expected Bedfordshire would gain. Some of them expected their own forces to lose. All of those forces have gained, and Bedfordshire haven't gained anything. And with our crime mix and the level and number of officers we've got for our population, which is already below what all the other forces have got, it is the most bizarre decision that I've heard.
Okay. It has left a lot of people scratching their heads. You guys in the police, us in the media, and observers as well, because it is very unusual. Look, you've been on the radio station in the run-up to this settlement being quite optimistic about getting this extra money. That seemed to be the implication when the review was first launched. How much of a blow was this?
Well, frankly, we've all been taken by surprise. Even colleagues elsewhere in the country have said, of all the forces, we expected Bedfordshire to gain. And Bedfordshire is a brilliant place to live and work, but we've got some challenges, and probably for 10 years, this force hasn't been properly funded. And the staff have done an amazing job. We lobbied for a review of the funding formula. We achieved an agreement that they would conduct that review, and then, perversely, the decision comes out that we don't get any extra money. And if you look at all the measures, and I'm happy to go wherever anybody wants to look at a measure around crime or issues that policing have to deal with, we have got more challenges than most forces, and yet we remain one of the worst funded forces in the country. So we're not taking this lying down. You know, we are going to be asking the communities and the partners in Bedfordshire to support us in lobbying the Home Office to reverse this decision and get proper funding for the force. And I have got the support of the other chief constables in the region for this as well.
Is it wise, though, to go against the grain in this way? I understand why you're doing it. You need the money to run your police force, but you're up against a very almost hardline government that doesn't want to give you any more money.
Well, I think the government will listen, because we're going to keep giving them the clear message. We have got such challenges here that any layperson looking at this would be completely, fazed and aghast as to how this has happened. We've got really strong arguments to present. We will continue to do that, and it is the wrong decision. It would be easy for me to accept it and trying to do even more in protecting the public in Bedfordshire for less, but everything has a tipping point, and this funding formula, with additional cuts that we're going to be told about for the police service at the end of November, really does put us in, I think, potentially an unsustainable position to provide the services that communities in Bedfordshire deserve as much as other communities elsewhere in the country, and we won't be able to provide them.
John, not with any disrespect, but other chief constables in the past have taken it on the chin. They've swallowed the cuts and the lack of money and just had to deal with it. Have we gone past that point? Have we now gone past the point of no return? We can no longer accept the funding that is available.
Well, we have to take what we're given. We've got to find other ways of getting money, and I'm exploring those as you would expect me to do, and we will pursue those. But central funding should be issued fairly on the basis of the challenges that each force has. This funding formula does not do that, and I think it's not been properly thought through. I'm meeting people in the Home Office next week with some extremely strong arguments. I will be asking, obviously, for support from our local communities. I'm getting it from colleagues in the country, and I can only hope that we change it. But whatever happens with the funding, the officers, the staff of Bedfordshire Police will continue to do a fabulous job. But we will have to start saying, we simply can't do that because we don't have the numbers that other forces have with regards to certain things that the public ask us to do.
Okay. Is your force sustainable? I mean, what are the sort of things that you will no longer be able to do, John, as a police service, if this carries on like this?
Well, with the the funding formula as it is, and the spending review that's going to come at the end of November, which basically means we're going to face more cuts, I asked myself whether we had an increase in major crime, gang crime, firearms offences, would we have the numbers of officers, the resilience to deal with it? And I'm really not sure we would moving forward, because recruitment's going to have to stop. And this isn't something that I'm saying, you know, oh, please look after Bedfordshire because we need additional funding to other forces. All I want is a fair deal for Bedfordshire, the same proportion of officers that other forces have for the number of residents they've got, the same proportion of officers that other forces have for the crime pattern they've got. And that's not been recognised. And you can add to that, actually. You know, we've got a major airport that brings all sorts of challenges. It's brilliant to have the airport at Luton. It's a vibrant, great place, and it's great for the local economy. But we don't benefit from that. What we have to do is police the implications of that, whether it's roads issues or whether it's crime issues. And we are really going to start to have difficult conversations about what services we can provide in the next 3 or 4 years.
John, is the answer that we may come back to the table with to fully merge with a neighbouring force? I mean, there's already a great deal of collaboration between Bedfordshire, Hertfordshire and Cambridgeshire. Doesn't it make sense to merge fully? Oh, we do appear to have lost John Boutcher, the Chief Constable. Oh, John, you're back.
Yeah, sorry, I think we lost you there. But
okay. Did you hear my last question? I was just saying, look, there is a great deal of collaboration between Beds, Herts and Cambridgeshire. Doesn't it make sense to merge fully?
Well, I'm an advocate for more collaboration, I think, and there's been lots of reports in the news you'll see today about cybercrime. We live in a digital society. We've got national counter-terrorism threats now. We need to at least collaborate a lot more than we're doing at the moment. I'm not sure smaller forces are going to be sustainable, but the Home Office have made it very clear that mergers aren't on the table. I would say it's essential that we provide local policing in our communities, and to do that, we've got to have proper funding. And that's the issue that I'm trying to address at the moment.
Maybe when you go to the Home Office next week, you should tell them to watch that Channel 4 programme, 24 Hours in Police Custody.
And isn't that a brilliant programme?
Well, it is.
Yeah, that shows what we do.
It is the kind of the severe challenges your staff have to face on a daily basis.
It is, and that emphasises just how brilliant they all are. It's real people from our communities working for the police service to protect other people. It's a great programme, and as I say, I'm not asking for anything additional. I'm just trying to bring Bedfordshire up even to near what other forces have. And we're not going to go away. We're going to keep shouting about this.
And John, what about getting more money from the local council taxpayer? I mean, other authority areas, people do pay a little bit more towards their police force, which tops up the amount the government gives you. We've tried that. We had a referendum. We've said no in Bedfordshire. Perhaps we need to ask people again.
Well, the referendum, I think, was a real challenge because of the way it was set up. And that was nothing to do... It was the first time a referendum like that had been run. I don't think the public really were given the right messages because of the rules that we had to follow. We get 68% of our funding from central government. So when central government cuts our funding, we feel it more than other forces because they get less in many cases. So all of the factors around police funding seem to be against Bedfordshire. But we're not going to take this line down, and what is right, and we're determined to get a fair deal. And we will look at anything that will help us get the money that Bedfordshire communities deserve for their police.
John, thank you for joining us. The Chief Constable of Bedfordshire Police, John Boutcher. When a Chief Constable comes on a radio programme and tells you very clearly, very eloquently, the funding challenges, it's coming to a tipping point. Okay, these guys, these girls, they don't come on a radio programme and tell you how difficult the funding is unless it's reached a critical point. Okay, there was this review ordered by the Home Office, by the Policing Minister Mike Penning a few months ago, and I certainly thought that meant more money. Other Chief Constables thought, well, they're going to give Bedfordshire more money because it is a very challenging area they have to police. Isn't the case? Okay, now, it's not for me to say, but if you live in Bedfordshire, you may just want to drop a line to your local MP saying, hang on a minute, what are you doing? Because it is a critical point when a Chief Constable, as I say, comes on the radio and spells out how the cuts are going to affect his force. Just saying, it's up to you. I mean, if you want the police to turn up for a burglary or a crime, you may want to talk to your local MP and perhaps instill upon them the necessity to relook at the situation. Not for me to say, for you to decide. It's your car they might nick, your house they might break into. Let's go back to the phones. Ernie's in Watford. Ernie, good afternoon to you.
Yeah, good afternoon.